there's two kinds of wills. There is a formal will, which is generally a typewritten will. It's usually prepared by an attorney, and it has certain clauses in it, and it has certain signature lines, and it's going to be notarized, and it will have an attestation clause, so there will be witnesses and signature places for witnesses to sign. That's very different from the other type of will that the state of Texas recognizes, which is a holographic will. A holographic will is a handwritten will. The entire will is in the testator or the decedent's handwriting, so you would write the will up before you died, and in the will you would just say what property you want to give to which person or which beneficiary. So those are the only two types of wills that the state of Texas recognizes. Well, there are several important provisions that your will should contain. One clause that every will should contain is called an exordium clause, and that's a fancy word to say you should have language that describes your family. If you are married, you should list the name of your spouse. If you have children, you should list the names of all of your children. Another important clause that your will should contain is who is going to serve as the executor of your estate. Appointing an executor is very important because that is the person who is in charge of gathering up the assets of the estate, making sure your creditors are paid, and then distributing your estate to your beneficiaries. So in addition to appointing an executor, you also want to have a successor executor appointed as well, or at least listed in your will. Another important clause in your will is an interim clause. That's another fancy word that says if any of the beneficiaries contest your will, then they will lose their portion of the estate or their share of the estate. Another important clause that your will should contain is that the executor is required to serve without bond, and that no other action shall be had in a probate court except for the filing of your will and filing of an inventory, appraisement, and a list of claims as well. So those are several clauses that every will should contain. It's pretty standard to find that language in every will. You also want to have an attestation clause in your will because Texas law requires that your will is attested if it's a formal will. And that is going to be the place where the witnesses to your will sign their names. And that attestation clause has to contain certain information that is set forth in the Texas Estates Code statute.